It's time to push the go button, and the fuel ignites and this thing kind of creaks its way off the cradle, but it immediately hooked. Highlights the tremendous risk the Navy was desperate enough to take by risking a on-pad detonation on the flight deck of their newest aircraft carrier.
The USS Midway approaches her second birthday. She is designated to conduct Operation Sandy, an experimental rocket launch at sea.
Operation Sandy was the practical demonstration of something that was even larger called Project Neptune. Project Neptune was the theory of being able to use ships as floating ballistic missile platforms. Rocketry looked to be the entirely new frontier in weaponry, particularly if you could deliver the just as new atomic bomb.
The Army was directed to provide 2 live rockets for the test launch on September 6th. The outcome was far from certain.
The detonation on the pad were common occurrences with early rocketry. There was a lot that had to be figured out on how to make a ballistic rocket accurate and safe to operate.
The genesis of Sandy began in the aftermath of World War II, when the success of the atomic bomb seemed to signal the end of conventional military planning. American strategic priorities now turned to the delivery of nuclear weapons. Given the primacy of this mission, the newly created U.S. Air Force seemed the ideal choice to achieve it, and thereby dominate American military aviation. Navy brass had other ideas.
So there was a need to be able to demonstrate that the Navy had a legitimate role in the nuclear delivery business. On a clear day, they loaded up the missile onto the aft flight deck of the Midway in the Norfolk area, in Chesapeake Bay, and then just cruised outside the Virginia Capes and fired off the missile. This particular captured German V-2 immediately veered as soon as it left the flight deck.
2 seconds after launch, the V-2 had tilted starboard in the direction of Midway's island before ascending out of control.
So they wound up having to detonate the rocket just seconds into flight intentionally. The whole point being that, yes, we have a moving platform, and yes, we can successfully launch a rocket. Whether it'll go where you want it to go is an entirely different argument.
Throughout her unprecedented 47-year career, USS Midway would experience many adventures across the world's oceans, none quite so unusual, and few as potentially dangerous as this one.
We take rocket launches for granted nowadays, but it took the entirety of the 50s to really break in sophisticated rocketry. Well, as it turns out, it took a considerable amount of time for missiles to go to sea, but not on ships, but in submarines.
In the 1960s, ballistic missiles at sea would become a vital component of America's strategic defensive arsenal. On a September morning in 1947, USS Midway and Operation Sandy would help lead the way to that decisive day.